Alright, Darksiders, let's jump right into this third episode of Rings of Power. This will be much more of a commentary than it is a review, and there will be spoilers, so if you've not seen it, make sure that you do not watch this. So there were some things in this that I think were really important. I do think the pacing of this third episode was a little bit slow, but there's a lot of good stuff in this episode as well. So one of the things that I really liked out the gate was I really love meeting Elendil where he is at this point. We do know that eventually he does become the High King of Gondor as well as Arnor, and we do know what happens to him. We know his fate. So to see him before he occupies that position, I think is really interesting. And we do know some stuff about him at this point, which I think is cool how they did this, that they do set him up as being of kind of royal lineage, but we don't know a whole bunch about him. I do like how they also bring in his son, Isildur, at this point, whose aspiration seems to be really just a seaman, and we know what happens to him as well. We know that he eventually gets killed because he cannot let go of the ring, and he actually ends up becoming one of the Nazgul. So it's cool to see all of these characters at this point where they are before they become what we know them to be later on in Tolkien's work. So I really like how they did that. I loved the visual appeal of the city of Numenor. That was staggering. And for folks that have problems with this show, we're not even going to get into the race swapping and all that in this video, but just the visual appeal of that, if you're honest, that was amazing. I mean, the cinematic value of that was absolutely fantastic. So I loved how they made that depiction as well. And I also love how they're setting up the dynamic between the relationship of the elves and the Numenorians as well. So I think all of that is very cool. I love how all of that is set up. And of course, we have the confirmation of what a lot of us were thinking, right? With what's going on in the Southlands with the orcs. And of course, I was thinking it, you probably were thinking it as well, okay, this is a setup for Mount Doom and the land of Mordor. And it seems like they've all but confirmed that when we make the connections of what we see in the third episode and also what we see in that first episode. So this episode was good because they were setting up a lot of things, and I think that they did a really good job of that. Now, some things that I did not like so much about this episode is, number one, I still think with some of the characters, the performances are not that good. These folks are just not that great of actors, in my opinion, but I do want to give them some leeway. We are only 3 episodes in. It could get better, but from what I've seen with some of the performances here, I'm not that satisfied with them. I am very unsatisfied with Galadriel. She is very unlikable, and some of you all have mentioned that. I mean, really, like, I almost wanted to shake her, like, what's wrong with you? Now, I get the fact that you're upset with what happened with your brother. I'm not taking that lightly. I get the fact that you have a purpose and a goal to avenge his death, but you're walking around like you got a chip on your shoulder, just angry just to be angry. And that is the problem with her character at this point. That's how she comes across. It doesn't even so much come across as her being angry for a particular reason. She just seems generally angry, and it makes her character very unlikable. Now, I don't know if they did this because, again, wanting to present her as a strong female figure, but here's the thing. When you see the depiction of Galadriel in Peter Jackson's work, she doesn't at all seem like she's weak. As a matter of fact, she seems quite strong. She seems like someone not to be messed with. She seems very powerful just in her quietness of demeanor. Now, I'm not saying that they need to make Galadriel, as she is right now, demure or submissive or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. She can still be portrayed as very strong, but not unlikable. So I really do hope that they do something to soften her character, but still keep the strength of character with who she is, because I think that that part is fantastic. In terms of the hobbits at this point, I'm really not bought into them so much, the Harfoots. There's something about them that's not very engaging, and they certainly do not have the endearing qualities that the hobbits had in Peter Jackson's work, and I hope that that changed. The visual appeal is fine for me, but them as characters, I just cannot connect with very much, and that might change, right, when we get more depth of storytelling around them as we move forward. I hope it does, because right now, I'm really not even enjoying seeing them on screen. Let's talk about this wizard, right? The space guy, as some people have called them. Now, some people are kind of positing that this might be Gandalf. I doubt it, because I don't think that there were any wizards in the Second Age, but it could, having said that, also be Gandalf, because one of the things that Amazon did say is that this is an adaptation, right? So there are going to be some parts of the story that might not be consistent with the core of the lore. If that is the case, you might have a wizard in the Second Age, but from all accounts, we know that wizards didn't come until really the Third Age. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that character. And when we go to the scene with Arondir and they're at the dig where they're being held captive by the orcs, I think the scene is really cool because we have a tie-in from the first episode. And we do know from this scene that they are looking for something. And then it makes you think about the weapon that the boy found in the cavern that was being dug under the house. And that apparently is what they are looking for. But we know that they're not going to find it because someone else has it. So I like how they do that tie in there. I do also like how we get the introduction of possibly Sauron in this scene. And it's really cool because Arondir mentions a name when they're talking about whoever it is that the orcs are worshiping being Elvish name. And he seems to say Anar. But I'm thinking, wait, that's not right because I believe it was Anatar, which is how Sauron referred to himself when he revealed himself to the different elves, and he's able to actually fool Celebrimbor, but we don't really see who this figure is, but it does appear that the figure is Elvish. So they're setting up a lot of cool things in this third episode. I am working on a spoiler-free review for Cobra Kai. I'm almost done watching season 5 of that show, and man, that show's crazy bingeable. It's almost as bingeable as 24 for all my old heads who remember that show used to come on Fox. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. Love you.